Hello, everyone. My name is Rihanna Collier, and I'm Vice President of the Software Division at SIA. On behalf of SIA and Cloud Now, I'm delighted to welcome you to today's webinar titled Shaping a New Era of Computing and Business Innovation. We're extremely pleased to have two amazing speakers with us today, in Lauren States from IBM and Vanessa Alvarez from Gridstorewe. But before I turn it over to these ladies, I just want to go over a few housekeeping reminders. First, this webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be made available on our website and also on Cloud Now's website following the session. A link to the recording will be sent to all participants in the conclusion of the session as well. Next, all of your phones are on mute, so if you would like to submit questions, you can do so via the chat box on the left of your screen. Please feel free to submit your questions at any time throughout the course of the webinar, and the ladies will be happy to address your questions during the end of the session. For those of you unfamiliar with SIA, I just want to take a quick minute to give you an overview. We are the leading trade association for the software and digital content industries. Through our activities and our programs, we create opportunities for our members to gain exposure to the industry, collaborate and network with potential partners and customers, and hopefully provide resources that help drive our industry forward. If you have any questions about SIA and how to get more involved, please feel free to contact me. My contact details will be made available later on in this presentation. Here at SIA, we recognize the importance of partnering in today's marketplace. And that's not just partnerships between vendors, but also associations like ours. So we're delighted to be partnering with the Cloud Network of Women to provide you with activities such as today's webinar. But in addition, we work closely with Cloud Now to provide additional benefits to both of our memberships. So again, if you have any questions or would like more information about our partnership or upcoming collaborations, please don't hesitate to contact us. So with that, I'm delighted to introduce the founder and president of Cloud Now, Jocelyn Graham, who's going to talk a little bit about Cloud Now, the webinar series, and introduce our speakers. Jocelyn?
Thank you. So thank you to SIA, Rihanna, and Katie for all your partnership and collaboration for delivering this webinar series and opening up this channel for industry dialogue. Before we begin with today's session, I'd just like to share a little bit about Cloud Now. For those of you just getting familiar with our initiative, the Cloud Network of Women is a nonprofit consortium of the leading women in cloud computing. And our mission is to promote women in tech by demonstrating and applied thought leadership and excellence. Our membership is open to both men and women. All that is required is a passion for cloud. You can find us at cloudnetworkofwomen.com. So in the years since our launch, we've had some great successes. We've placed articles in the Wall Street Journal and VentureBeat. We've established the Top Women in Cloud Awards, and we've assembled our advisory board from truly the upper echelon of cloud thought leadership. And building on this success is the webinar series that we're presenting with SIA today. And we're kicking it off featuring Lauren States and Vanessa Alvarez. They'll be discussing a new era of computing and business innovation. This webinar will frame the content Cloud Now and SIA will be delivering over the next several months, and we invite you to join our other sessions as well as share with us your thoughts on additional topics and potential speakers. For today's session, as companies look to drive lasting marketplace advantage, innovation becomes a key driver of business success. In this session, we'll use an interview format to explore how cloud and this new era of computing is fostering innovation and changing the structure of business and markets, and how the use of cloud technologies can enable IT to move out of the data center and into the fabric of the business. We'll be accepting questions as we move through the session. Katie and I will be helping Vanessa field questions. We will try and address as many as possible during this live presentation, and we'll follow up with any additional questions you might have post-webinar. We'll also be providing contact information at the end of the session. So I'd like to now introduce the thought leader participating in today's session and have them share just a bit about themselves. Lauren States is the CTO of IBM Cloud Computing. She's an advisor to Cloud Now, recognized as one of the top women in cloud, and one of the 25 most influential black women in American business. Lauren, we welcome you and we thank you for being here. Could you share just a little bit more about yourself?
Sponsoring the session, and Jocelyn, of course, for all of your passion and leadership around Cloud Now and the development of talent within the industry. I work in IBM Corporate Strategy. I'm a vice president on our strategy team with a focus on cloud and other areas of our business. I've been involved in cloud for about the past 6 years directly. I've spent a lot of time working with clients, understanding what they wanted to do with cloud, what they perceived the benefits were, standing up early cloud environments and using that insight to help inform our strategy and our portfolio. I've spent a majority of my career working in the software part of our business, particularly on the client-facing side. And so I'm really delighted to be here today and also to participate in this dialogue with Vanessa.
Thank you, Lauren. It's so gracious of you to spend the time with us today, giving us your insights. We also have Vanessa Alvarez, Cloud Thought Leader and Director of Product Marketing at Gridstorewe. Vanessa is also a Cloud Now advisor and also a top woman in cloud. She's recognized as one of the top 50 women in tech. She also has received much critical acclaim for her research and articles and quotes published in such top-tier journals as CNN Money, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Forbes, Business Daily. So we welcome you, Vanessa, and could you share just a little bit more about yourself?
Thank you, Jocelyn. I'm very excited to be a part of the Cloud Now organization. We have a wonderful team of women who are making a big difference in the world of cloud computing and technology in general. I recently joined Gridstorewe, a startup in Mountain View, California, 2 months ago as Director of Product Marketing, driving the go-to-market strategy for our award-winning solution, the Grid. However, before that, I have spent 9 years as an industry analyst, most recently with Forrester Research, where I was conducting a great deal of research around understanding how Fortune 500 enterprises were deploying cloud computing, not only from a technology perspective, but also from an operational model and organizational perspective. Because as we'll discuss in today's webinar, cloud computing is really not only about technology, but really about how it enables businesses to increase their competitive advantage in their respective industries. So I'm very excited about today's conversation with Lauren States, and I'm excited to hear her perspective on what she sees in the industry today.
Thank you, Vanessa. We're so delighted that you're here. I think now we'll just kick it off. I'll turn it over to you, and let's begin the content portion of today's session.
Absolutely. Lauren, as I mentioned, I'm very excited to have this discussion with you. I know that IBM has been a leader in the cloud computing industry and helping their clients to really not only look at cloud computing as a technology, but also understand how it applies to their business. There's a great deal of change going on in the business today. We hear a great number of technologies at the forefront. So we hear things like mobile, social, cloud, and big data. Can you just give us a little bit of a perspective on this shift that's going on in enterprises and in business in general, and what this shift looks like? What are the factors impacting this shift? And ultimately, what it really means for the business.
Sure. So thank you very much, Vanessa. When I look at the shift, I look at it from two aspects. One is the technical innovation, which is just astonishing. It's game-changing. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, and I know we'll talk about that through the call. But I think as big in this shift is the business focus and alignment to tech as a critical differentiator for an organization or for a business. And I like to always quote a recent study that we did of 1,700 CEOs through our Institute of Business Value. And in this study, the CEOs are asked to rank what are the most important forces of change in their organization. And this year, tech jumped up to first place from sixth place at the beginning of the study, which was about 6 or 8 years ago. And so what that says to me is that in the C-suite, there is an explicit understanding and acknowledgement that tech is important for competitive differentiation. And in new areas as well, people are looking at how you can leverage tech in workforce development and human capital management. They're looking at how you can leverage tech much more effectively in marketing, how you can use it to have more personalized client relationships. And of course, tech has also always been noted for innovation of products and services across many industries. And what I think a lot of executives are looking for is how they can really affect change in their people-related processes and also their direct interactions with their clients and their partner ecosystems. And also as well, we talked to a lot of customers about modernization of their front office systems so that they can have multi-channel experiences that meet the needs of the different demographics of their client base. So how does that relate to tech today? Well, your clients are looking for mobile as a new user interaction model. They're looking at social for collaboration, particularly in the workforce for workforce development, but also with clients in terms of product development and other really exciting areas that may not have been so open to the entire ecosystem before. You can do sentiment analysis on big data. We do a lot of this with sporting events, and it's pretty exciting, the insight that you can pick out. But also personalization to the level of individuals as opposed to personalization to an average to create a much richer and more robust experience. And where cloud plays in this is it's the enabling technology to make these things happen. And as I reflect, early days, 5-6 years ago, we talked about cloud being a way to take cost out of IT, particularly in large enterprises, which is what I work with, and to get to more efficiency within the IT organization. Now I'm hearing new terms like agility, time to value, faster speed to market. It's not that the cost efficiency and budget remix has gone away. It's that the conversation has been enriched with what can it do for me. So that's some of what I'm seeing, Vanessa, as I meet with clients and do the strategy work within IBM.
Perfect, and that's interesting because I think in both small, medium, and large business, cloud is really affecting the way that they run their businesses today. And just kind of going through the factors that have driven this change in businesses, right? I think that when you talk about time to market and you talk about competitive advantage, it's interesting to see IBM is a 100-year-old company, and you've walked your clients through each step of their technology innovation. What are some of the drivers and factors that you see forcing your clients to change? Is it the obviously technology and the innovation of up-and-coming emerging startups? I think also that the fact that they do need to drive costs out of the IT environment, but at the same time increase their marketing and their go-to-market strategies. Are these some of the factors and drivers that you see in your customer base? And what should your customers or the industry in general really be thinking about today?
Yeah, so Vanessa, absolutely, and you and I have talked about this back and forth over the last couple of years as we've known each other. I reflected on this, and one of the things I think happened, which was really pretty exciting and fortuitous, was that when people started talking about cloud, there was so much discussion around what is cloud that it opened up conversation across the C-suite. And CEOs and CMOs and CFOs, CIOs, everybody alike, were trying to understand this phenomenon and what it meant, and the fact that the economics were so attractive. What I found in several of my clients, though, interestingly, was that the conversation did not veer straight to technology, although we did do quite a lot of technology experiments, so I don't want to downplay that. But in addition to the technology experimentation that we did, like around development and test workloads to see how you could use cloud services within an enterprise, either both on-premise or off-premise, there was a discussion about business alignment. And several of our clients actually this became a catalyst to kick off larger transformation efforts. In fact, one client I worked with was using it to figure out how to change the operating model of the company so that they could be much more agile, so that the infrastructure could respond to the demands of the business. And so I think that's the part of the conversation that was frankly not expected early days, when we spent a lot of time talking about what is it, trying to understand the definition, great work done with NIST in terms of getting clarity there. But what happened as a result in terms of business, and I think these other technology forces of social mobile, big data, and analytics acted as a force multiplier, I think really started to change the game in companies.
I completely agree, and it's interesting because, as you said, I think cloud really is the enabler for these other technologies, such as social and mobile and big data as well. And it's interesting to see a number of businesses in every size of the market, right? I think today it's very difficult to differentiate between small, medium, and large. Everyone has different and unique needs. And I think cloud really is at the center of it all, right? It's a disruptive model, both in terms of technology and in terms of organizational structure. And I almost want to say that it's really the holding power and the glue that brings it all together. I'm very excited about all the innovation that I see in the market today in cloud, as well as in social mobile and in big data. But let's talk a little bit about what you see in terms of the innovation that's happening for businesses because of cloud. What's happening for IT? How is it really bringing together the business and IT? Because I think that's a very important aspect and a big shift that we've seen in the industry as business and IT are forced to align in order to be able to reap the financial benefits and other benefits as well that cloud provides for your organization.
Yeah, I'll use two examples. Everything you say really resonates, and so let me amplify with a couple of examples. We have a couple of clients that we've worked with that I've interacted with more directly in the area of healthcare. And both of these clients describe how they use the collaboration aspect of cloud to extend the reach of expertise to areas where it's badly needed. One example, a large hospital in the Northeast built intensive pediatric care unit that was available to doctors around the world through the cloud, so as they needed to consult with specialists on critical care, they could do so in a much more effective way than in the past. Or another client that we've worked with has actually harvested medical best practices and refactored them as best possible practices in areas in great need. In this case, this company did a lot of work with Haiti after the earthquake. So that's an example of things that couldn't be done before easily that can be done with cloud computing. Another example that I would use is to go back to the enterprise, and there's been a lot of energy around marketing. And I think probably many people on the phone have seen statistics that show that in the course of a short time, if it hasn't happened already, the CMO will be spending as much money on IT as the CIO. And so we've really noticed this trend because the CMO can use the technology, the big data to do the sentiment analysis, the analytics to give a personalized and richer experience to their end client, client support done out on the social media using cloud and collaboration, or even things like revenue generation. I read an article the other day that said one of the airlines had their largest revenue day ever by putting an offer out in the social media, right? So it spans the whole cycle of marketing from, demand gen through support and fulfillment. And so we've actively brought CMOs into the conversation. In fact, Vanessa, this year we extended our CIO conference to include CMOs as well. So I think that that's also a very exciting development. My first in terms of what is now possible, which was not possible, and then my second is in terms of how within the organization the boundaries start to blur because IT is so critical to both the core business processes and the commercial aspects of running a business, from financials to supply chain to human resource and development, but now to the lines of business and how they're using technology to achieve top-line growth.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think we saw the lines blurring between business and IT with cloud. I think we see it even more so with big data, right, and analytics, and that really demonstrates how the enabling technologies such as cloud deliver to the top line, which at the end of the day, that's really what businesses think about today. And it's interesting that you brought up the point around having CMO and CIOs really start to work together, because I think that although it's no easy feat, most enterprises today, or most businesses today, really do need to start to collaborate amongst their different business units. And I think this is really where they'll achieve these operational benefits, not only from an IT perspective, but just from the business overall. I believe that CIOs and CMOs, and to some extent CFOs as well, will start to really come together to be able to deliver and achieve the value that cloud is supposed to deliver. But let's talk about the fun stuff, right? Let's talk about the market and really about the innovation that's being spurred as a result of cloud. And as a result of other technologies as well, big data and mobile are really coming at the forefront, and I really think that it's just an ongoing process from cloud. So what would you say is some of the hottest technologies or some of the hottest areas in innovation today in terms of cloud and how it enables other platforms?
Well, so definitely big data and analytics. Where we are entering an age where information can now have the context that you really need to get the insight and take the actions that you need to. For instance, really hot area, particularly in retail, but also in other parts of businesses, is next best action based on analytics. Very, very, very hot. Unlocking big data. I've met with so many clients who have so much data, and they know in that data there's so much insight, and they're anxious to unlock it. I think the developments within natural language processing have been really astonishing, and many of you may have particularly those of you who are in the U.S. may have watched the Watson computer play Jeopardy! A year and a half ago, and we learned a lot in terms of natural language processing, but also in terms of the analytics behind that, and recently have deployed that to a healthcare provider who uses it for differential treatment analysis and the authorization of different procedures based on what would be the best action given your medical history and circumstance. Mobile, I mean, Vanessa, I hate to admit this, but the first computer I ever worked on took up half the floor in Manhattan, and it only had 125K memory. I don't even think I could function with 125K memory today. So it's changed the whole user interaction model, created an app economy, and then lastly, the things that can be done today with collaboration, unprecedented connectedness of communities, like our Cloud Now community, Jocelyn, that you have sponsored. So I think we're just at the beginning of what is possible, and as we learn these technologies and they mature and there's more tooling around them and expertise, we'll look back in 10 years and say, wow, while we imagined quite a bit, we didn't imagine what it could be at its fullest.
Interesting that you brought up, two of the most overhyped terms today in the industry are big data and cloud. But the reality is that the two really do come together to be able to deliver a great deal of value to enterprises. I think that big data and just analytics in general is a big initiative for many businesses today. And whether they do that internally within their on-premise environment or whether they choose to do it in a cloud environment, whether it be private or public, the truth is that most business users want to have a seamless technology environment. In other words, they don't really want to know how that technology is being delivered or how the analytics are being done. At the end of the day, business users are really only interested in their data and the valuable information that provides. And I think that's the area that's most exciting to me. Being in storage and in data in general, I like to make sure that the seamless integration of technology happens for these. And so even though they are the two most overhyped terms, they really do come together and even more tightly align the business with IT and being able to attribute that, technology investment to the top line and tie it together.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just an example, Vanessa. One of the projects I worked on was a big data project where we actually did real-time analytics on patterns. If this particular client was looking for patterns within their network, and based on the analytics, real time, they could see anomalies and then adjust their network defense posture, for instance. So, I mean, that was an example of working with big data, absolutely. But the cloud aspect of it was that we created an elastic infrastructure underneath that could scale up and down to the demands of the computational analysis that needed to be done at any given time. So I do agree that there's a lot of hype in general, but the real examples are starting to emerge, and they're very exciting.
Yes, and I think that for IBM and perhaps any technology vendor as well, you have become a true trusted partner to your customers because you are providing not only the technology solutions, but customers today, enterprises, are really looking to their vendors to not only provide them with technology, but also provide them with the business understanding and the business value of what that technology means to them. And I think that's something that IBM and other technology owners as well have to really adapt to. And I think, I'd be interested in hearing your perspective in working with your IBM clients, that shift in becoming not only just a vendor, but a trusted partner to your customers.
Yeah, well, so Vanessa, this is a great question for me because I actually started in IBM as a systems engineer. Was really a trusted advisor role and just a real marvelous role to work in. And we worked with our clients back in those days, really understanding their outcomes and what technology would help provide those outcomes. And that's really been part of the core of who our company has been since the days of the Watsons. Very, very client-focused, very, very outcome-focused. And we have made several transitions within our company. And so we believe that that's one of our brand attributes. And we just have just a really rich tradition within the company, not only of the systems engineering profession, but of a core value. In fact, our main core value is delivering client value.
Great. So you mentioned a few different verticals earlier. We've spoken about retail and healthcare. Do you see particular verticals or particular industries or functions that are adopting cloud much faster than other areas? I know that, there's always the bleeding edge leaders, and then there's always some verticals who kind of stay behind and don't take so quick to new technologies. Have you seen a pattern in some different verticals?
Yeah, we have seen a pattern, and actually this pattern has really pretty much held true for the years that we've been involved. So telcos are really aggressively pursuing cloud to add more value-added services and change their business models. And so early days, a lot of telcos and service providers were very aggressive in understanding how to bring cloud computing into their business, not only to get the efficiency, but they were among the first to really try to understand how to change their business strategy and provide more top-line revenue growth. I think we've seen several governments around the world be aggressive about cloud computing, not only for efficiency, but I was reflecting on a project that one of my senior architects worked on several years ago, and the project was around citizen services in one of the top 15 metropolitan cities in the world. And at the time, what we were trying to solve to was placing kiosks in areas where people needed citizen services. Well, now you can do that with feature phones. And so, there is a lot of budget pressure in governments, but also there's an opportunity to provide citizen services. Another great example is the Intelligent Operations Command Center down in Rio that they used initially to help predict severe weather patterns, but later became a way for them to collaborate across different city agencies to manage events across the city. And then last, I would say, always aggressive in technology is the financial services sector, both for cost efficiency and for innovation.
Those are interesting that you mentioned governments, because I always
Vanessa, I think your phone cut out.
Oh, when you take a look at governments from a global perspective, where you of the world, right? You see faster adoption in EMEA because of infrastructure changes. You see more adoption in Latin America or in Asia Pac. Where have you started to see the most traction for cloud?
Yeah, that's a great question as well, Vanessa. We have seen adoption within North America and also in Asia and Europe, probably Europe being the next most active, and then Asia. But when we do the forensics, it really depends on country by country. So there are countries in Asia which have very, very robust infrastructures and governments that believe that technology is part of their economic growth and differentiation in their region. And so we see fast take-up in those countries and other countries not. But general trend has been North America, Europe, and then Asia. But within Europe and Asia as well, there are countries that are adopting at very, very fast rates. And overall, we've seen the rate and pace in the industry pick up in general.
Interesting. I think, even though we've been talking about cloud for some time now, for the last few years, the reality is that most countries and most regions are just starting to really understand what cloud means for them, not only in the enterprise, but in service provider markets as well. As you mentioned, the telcos have been very aggressive in being able to understand what cloud means to them, but also really look at their architectures today and have to really change the way that they deliver their services. And in order to do that, they really do need to re-architect a lot of their networks and a lot of their infrastructure in order to create those efficiencies and still achieve the services and margins that they are looking for at the top line. Going down the road of service providers, what are some of the services, the cloud services that you've seen gain adoption and traction in the market today?
Well, it really depends. Service providers are leveraging their network assets, absolutely. Several service providers that I've interacted with over the years look at both horizontal and vertical industries. Some choose to serve small and medium businesses. Some choose to exploit the adjacencies with their own outsourcing function. And so we definitely see that now, but we're also now seeing that they're extending to providing services around analytics and social and figuring out how they can provide mobile platforms. And so I think it's gone from, let's basically start with where we can, where we have adjacencies and where we have expertise and where we can learn, because I think you make a very good point about there is a lot of work that needs to be done to condition both the organization and the infrastructure and re-architect to be able to take full advantage. But as they learn and as other organizations learn, I can say more broadly, then they can extend into these trends that we were talking about earlier. So, for instance, collaboration for workforce development and knowledge management is something that people have worked on for years and now is something that is much more within reach. Analytics in terms of how a product might be performing or other areas, something that can be done. So yeah, we see clients looking in that direction, I would say, branching out now into really exploiting these new areas now that they're more well understood.
So let's take a little bit of a shift and start to talk about some of the challenges that we still see in cloud computing, right? Despite the fact that we've done a lot of work around things like security issues that have haunted cloud computing for some time now. Do you think that, A, we've resolved some of the issues around the security challenge, and B, would you say that security is really only one of the challenges today? There are other challenges that are facing the market that, maybe there are solutions out there today, but not quite there yet.
Yeah, and so you hit the nail on the head. Security still remains an issue, and it's very relevant and a critical issue. The way I think of it is that you really have to unpack what you're trying to do, and take a very measured approach. It's one thing to maybe have a model that's business to consumer versus business to business. There are other considerations around what data has to be secure, and what data maybe not as much. There are issues around compliance and regulation. So I think one of the things that we can start to do in this in the industry is to start talking about security more precisely instead of applying the term security to the whole of it. Because the fact of the matter is that security is a serious issue, and it's not just cloud, it's across the whole of the IT infrastructure, and we all are cognizant of it and work on it every day. And my view is that we need to be particular and precise about what it is we're trying to achieve to make the security decisions. Now, as an example, early days, the talk was really bifurcated on public cloud, public, and private cloud in a data center. Now the conversation is much more nuanced, and a lot of clients are choosing to do off-premise cloud services as managed services, whether it's hosted in somebody else's data center or within a cloud data center. They have a portion dedicated to them, or with a certain demographic of customers and workloads, they're more willing to use shared infrastructure. And so that, I think, takes the pressure off. It's all or nothing. And then, as I said earlier, if you look at the workloads and look at your organization risk profile and other characteristics, I think you can make a decision today on how you can use it most effectively.
Ladies, we just got a question in the chat that ties really nicely into the security dimension of the discussion. The person wants to know specific technologies or approaches that might help secure clouds and data, quote unquote, in the open. Do either of you have thoughts on that?
Yes, I mean it's a complex topic, so I'll just give a couple of areas. There are technologies that can secure databases in the cloud. We have such technologies at IBM, like our product Guardian. There are identity and access management technologies that are really critical. There are technologies that you can apply to devices so that you can protect personalities within devices and have the ability to wipe a device if it's compromised. And then there are a lot of security analytic capabilities so that you can track incidents and take actions. And actually, I see customers starting to apply predictive analytics to security. So those are a few.
Just to kind of add on to Lauren as well, I think today we're really to see not only big data analytics for business, but also IT analytics. And kind of to Lauren's point, there's small emerging technologies out there that are focusing on really monitoring and trying to get ahead of the game, not only in the security space, but also in performance and the delivery of the technology. So I think that, as we start to really move into analytics being done, whether it be in the public cloud or on-premise or combinations thereof, there's going to be more companies and vendors such as IBM and others who will focus much more around this area. And kind of going back to your point, Lauren, around how companies today are really leveraging not only public cloud but their own private clouds as well, and perhaps even leveraging managed services or hosted services or combinations thereof, I think exposes them even more to not only security but manageability as well. And I think that today this is a part of their overall cloud computing strategy. So what would be some of the things that you would recommend to your clients or to enterprises in general in terms of factors or issues or things that they really do need to include in their overall strategy in order for it to be successful?
Yeah, so Vanessa, a lot of thoughts come to mind, but I'll focus on a couple. In my early days of cloud, I did a lot of work within the cloud management area, and even early on in my career, I did specialize in systems management back in the days of mainframe computers. Now I've given away my age.
And they're still in the market, believe it or not.
but and very robust. But one of the things that became clear in our early work is that you've got to do the hard work to have the right management infrastructure in place, so that you can not only manage on-premise, but then start the more complex aspects of managing off-premise services and deploying workloads to the right places and understanding your utilization across a lot of resource pools. That is important, detailed work that needs to be done. And I remember a CIO who I used to work with who was just fabulous. He always would lecture me and say, Lauren, make sure you tell people there are no shortcuts. You cannot skip any steps. And I think that's true. So that's on the one side, the technology piece of it. On the other side, I would say that there needs to be a business strategy. You can't just say, here's a cloud, if I build it, it will be used. Whether you're selling it, as a service, or you're building it in your private data center, your own data center, really need to have a business strategy around what do you want to achieve, what are you able to invest, what are the policies of your firm in terms of the placement of data, et cetera, et cetera. I think ultimately we're looking to have the infrastructure serve the business outcome. I think that is the nirvana, and my point is it requires quite a bit of planning and foresight because it's not just the technology, it's all the business processes in the organization as well, but it also requires some, I think, very fundamental technical work to be done to be able to really get the flexibility and agility needed so that, as you said, Vanessa, people who are receiving the end service have no idea what the complexity is behind it, but those of us who have worked in IT for many years know that the simpler it is on the receiving end, the more elaborate it is on the delivery end.
Truer words could not have been said, right? And I think that you hit the nail on the spot. The infrastructure you leverage the infrastructure to deliver the business outcome desired, right? And I think that's really where I was going with. As a technology vendor, you're not just a technology vendor anymore. I mean, I take a look at some of our customers at Gridstorewe, for example, where, we're a storage company, but we're not just storage. We're really teaching our customers to understand how they shift to that, to achieve the levels of efficiency that cloud is supposed to provide for them. So, as technology vendors, it is our responsibility to be able to guide our clients and our customers through these transitions. And I think that I'm sure you've seen this in your customer base, and I've also seen it. It's really the shift that's happening in IT and the roles really evolving. I think a few years ago there was much buzz about IT jobs going away because of cloud. And the reality is that here we are today. There's no other industry more robust in terms of jobs and employment than IT. So
yeah, it's a very additive.
Jobs really went away. I think just the role has changed. So do you have some perspective on what kind of skills we need today to be able to manage cloud environments?
Yeah, so Vanessa, it's a really additive industry. I just want to underscore that point that you made. So much innovation occurs and builds on so much innovation that has occurred. I would say, of course, there are a lot of new skills associated with all the technologies we discussed. Mobile application design, mathematical, quant skills for the algorithms used within analytics, user design skills for the user experience. But I would also say that now more than maybe in past technology generations, business-related skills are becoming critical in terms of the management of IT services, both on and off premise. What does that mean in terms of acquisitions, contracts, SLAs, sourcing, management systems, all a key set of business skills. I've had several clients comment on that in some of the panel discussions that I've led at events. And then the other set of skills I would say are that there's an important set of skills in terms of understanding the language of the new buyer who is in the business unit. And who I think what industry really knew this early days was in financial services when I worked in the financial services on the IBM Financial Services team on Wall Street, serving some of the large investment houses as a systems engineering manager. Even back in those days in the 80s, they had line of business CIOs. And so these CIOs were able to represent the business unit to central IT, but also help design the right IT sets of capabilities needed for whatever unit that they were in. I think this crossover of skill and interest will become more the norm than the exception.
Absolutely, and I think that as we start to move forward into the realms of big data and analytics and technologies that focus much more on the business outcome, we'll start to see, I think, a combination of both, right? Business and IT, IT and business, and the future of that role is still very, very vibrant and very exciting. But I absolutely agree with you on that. Jocelyn, I know that we're coming up on time. I think when Lauren and I together, we can chat all day.
We're probably at the point that we do need to wrap. It's been a great discussion, and what's occurred to me by listening to you and Lauren today is that cloud computing with the convergences that we're talking about, digital, mobile, big data, we're actually talking about a new IT ecosystem now. And just as Lauren was laughing about mainframes, that's what traditional IT is now becoming to us, right? And so it's an entirely new evolution and ecosystem, and I think it's just such a, an amazing topic and such an important discussion that you both weighed in on today. So we have just a couple of minutes for some Q&A. Many of these questions were covered, so I'm going to just parse out things and dimensions that maybe just need a little bit more clarification. I think the biggest thing that we didn't yet touch on is how big are the financial benefits. Do either of you want to give some perspective on that?
Yeah, I'll start. And by the way, I just want to say that on mainframes, I was laughing about my age. It's incredible technology and has a lot of the attributes that are really critical to today's environment. And of course, there are clouds also deployed on mainframes. But let me go to the economics. The economics can be quite dramatic. Now, it depends on where a client is starting from, but we've seen in some of our own analysis that you can get savings as much as 40 or 50%. Now, it depends on how virtualized the environment is, and it also depends on how much automation and standardization you put into your IT organization. And so, we've seen cases like that with some clients. I think, Jocelyn, the range varies quite a bit, but if you go through the different areas of where you can achieve efficiency and do the hard work that the CIO I mentioned was talking about, you can actually start to see a significant amount of savings.
Great. Vanessa, do you have any last words as we're winding down?
I think that, kind of to maybe look at a broader perspective of not only the financial but the operational and overall the business benefits. Cloud touches a number of different areas in a business, right? It touches the technology. It touches the organizational structure. It basically changes the way that businesses run today. Not only from technology and the people who manage technology, but also from how the business operates, right? From a human resources perspective to accounting to marketing to demand gen. I think that really it starts to flow, and just like your infrastructure is as a service or it's on demand, which is what cloud delivers, your business is on demand as well, right? Your customer is so empowered today, and they expect their vendors or their businesses to really cater to them and deliver what they're looking for. And it's really a struggle for enterprises today to be able to deliver that without the right technology in place, without the right organizational structures. So I think that although cloud has been around for some time now, we're just starting to really pinpoint the true value of cloud. And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely, Vanessa. I think your key word is value.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Such a great conversation. Let me turn it back over to Rihanna and Katie to close and give you, our audience, some more information. I'll go ahead and thank Vanessa and Lauren State so much for this amazing conversation and sharing your time and perspective with us today.
Thank you, Jocelyn, and as well thank you to Vanessa for leading the discussion, and Katie and Rihanna as well for providing the webinar for us.
Thank you all. We really appreciate it. It was a great discussion. As I mentioned earlier, the recording will be made available. We'll send everybody registered today a link following the session. And we're very excited for this series and working with Cloud Now moving forward. So again, thank you all, and I wish everyone a great rest of their day.
Thank you.
Hello?
Thank you. Please stand by.